Are we ready to get started? Yes. Good morning, everyone. So just a FYI, colleagues, Commissioner O'Connor is out of town, so he will not be with us today. But we're going to get started with our meeting this morning. Just a couple things to note. Item 6 has been removed from our agenda. So I just want to make a note of that for you. And then we do have a walk-on where I will request to suspend the rules. And we'll put that at the end. And then, Commissioners, we do have an executive session as well as 2 community updates today after Cal. But as we get started today, what I'd like to do is start off by inviting Tom Almonte to come forward and speak to the incredible work that the city did and city employees did after our recent tornado and severe weather incident. So Tom, take it
Mayor,
away.
Commissioner, I'm just going to stand here for a second because really the work was done by the staff. So I'm going to ask him to come forward, and I'm going to ask James to... And I have asked James to give you a sense of what took place during that event, the tornado, just to give you a quick highlight of the work that they completed. So, James?
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners.
Morning.
As you know, on August 20, we had some storms come through the area. Really originated down in Van Buren County, went through Ottawa County and Allegan County, landed in Kent County. The hardest hits areas that we had were really southwest, southeast, and then northeast. We had a big area that was damaged really well. First reports were about 25 streets were fully blocked, trees laying on the streets, power lines down. Between the police department, the fire department, dispatch, forestry, and public services, we convened the Emergency Operations Center Saturday afternoon. We started pulling crews in, trying to assess the damage that we had, trying to open up streets as fast as we could. We did have an emergency medical issue up on Perkins, which was a really hard-hit area of the city. Big trees down. They couldn't get any emergency vehicles in there. And some of the crews here were first on the scene and were able to clear that street out. It took a couple hours, if I'm not mistaken. All in all, we responded really well. Cleaned up really fast. It was a collaborative effort. On Monday, following the storm on Saturday, we had about 116 calls come into 311. On Tuesday, only 47, and on Wednesday, 16. So our crews were really active between forestry and public services, trying to clear the streets, get the brush picked up. And as a side note, we also opened up the yard waste drop-off site on Sunday, first time ever in my history. We had several hundred residents that showed up to dispose of the material. We're still having some residents move things out to the street, but all in all, I think we're in really good shape. Most of it's cleared up. It's reported to me that we've had a few other storms since then, and we're having some residual branches that are falling down, as you can imagine. We also, just as a note, on Monday we convened some discussion, and we put out into the neighborhoods code compliance, building inspections, risk management, to visit some of the houses that were damaged by private property trees, to give them some assistance, give them some guidance on what they could do, and I think it worked out really well. The city really reached out and was helping their neighbors and their residents. So these are the men and women who were here. We were missing a few, but we're doing some paving work today, so they needed to stay out there. But if you would join me in giving them a round of applause, I'd appreciate it. I'm sure they'd answer any questions you may have.
Great, thanks, colleagues. I think we all just want to add our thanks. I went around to neighborhoods the next day and then was out at Perkins, and it was really incredible how quickly you were able to respond. And I couldn't believe the size of trees down on Perkins.
They were big trees.
They were, yeah, amazing.
In fact, there was one tree, helped me out with the street. We had to have a crane come in, help lift it off a house. Fitzhugh.
Yeah.
2 cranes. It was a big, big tree.
Yeah. So thank you for all your work.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, David and Joe as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, that will take us to our Committee of the Whole agenda. Our first item is a resolution recognizing a consular identification card by the City of Grand Rapids as a valid form of identification. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right, and I think we'll keep Tom up at the stand to talk about this.
Mayor, Commissioner, this item is one that really came out of the work that we have monthly meetings with the Hispanic Center and the Hispanic Chamber, the city manager, and this came out of those conversations. So Roberto is here today, but let me just give you an overview of what this will do and what it's not, and then I'm gonna ask the chief to make just a brief comment, and then Roberto. But in 2003, the City Commission recognized the matricula consular for Mexican nationals. And this is an ID that's issued by the council to identify those that live in the U.S. The ID currently is recognized by 350 financial institutions. This ID is not a proof of legal residence, but really provides those here in the U.S. with an ID that can be used, whether it's for city services or other services in the community. The item that's before you will recognize all of the matricula consular from all of the countries that issue those in the U.S. And I'm going to ask the chief to make a few remarks.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Chief?
Thanks, Tom. As pointed out, these identification cards are becoming more readily accepted across the country in major municipalities as a valid form of governmental ID. From a law enforcement perspective, anytime someone can produce an identification card that has a photograph and information regarding their place of residence is a benefit to law enforcement. So as we become more diverse as a community, more multicultural, more international, these identification cards we recognize will be seen with more frequency and will definitely help us from a law enforcement standpoint when individuals can produce that valid government identification card.
Thank you, Chief.
Roberto, would you like to make a...
Roberto, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Mrs. Mayor, Commissioners. About a year ago, I stood at Rosa Parks Circle and I joined Mayor Hartwell as he honored our city as a welcoming city. And I wondered to myself, what did that really mean? And was it just rhetoric, or were we really going to put some really meat to that language? And so this matter here before you today really does do that. It really does do that in a very big way. And Mayor, when you first came in, you said cultural corridors, and to many of us in the Latino community, the Hispanic Chamber, the Hispanic Center, we took that as an indication that there truly was going to be an embrace of our diversity in this community. This year, we had our first visit from the Guatemalan Consulate out of Chicago. And they came in to Cesar Chavez Elementary School, and we hosted a process for our legal residents that are here from Guatemala. Over 700 people attended those 2 days on Saturday and Sundays. We started the process at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 3:30 in the morning, people were lining up. That's how eager they were to have all these documents processed. We're talking about marriage certificates, birth certificates, residence, proof of residence. This is the type of service that we're providing every day at the Hispanic Center. We do well over 800 Mexican nationals. So this morning I was on the phone with Honorable Counsel Hugo from Chicago. They're even looking at considering the Hispanic Center as a partner to be able to do some of the processing now in Chicago. We currently do it in Detroit. So you're also, by doing this, you're allowing the Hispanic Center to grow economically in the services that we provide. So we appreciate your support on this. We will work hand in hand with law enforcement. We'll work hand in hand with city officials to make sure that this process is something that you can certainly trust in. On behalf of the consulates that we work with on a daily basis, much appreciation for your support. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Commissioners, questions, comments? All right, well, thank you for your work on this. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to our Committee of the Whole, item number 2, and this is our presentation of our audit plan for fiscal year ending June 30th. Commissioners, we do this every single year. We have a presentation, and we're not voting on anything. This is just a presentation that we do during COW so that it's made public.
Correct, Mayor. Thank you, and good morning. So this is just a presentation from BDO, our annual auditors. They're going to present the annual work plan, which includes the objectives, plan, scope, and timeline. And we have John and Anna here from BDO.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
My name is John LaFramboise. I'm an audit director for BDO. And what we're going to do is just try and take about 5 minutes of your time to go from a very high level, talk about the audit and what we do, what our responsibilities are, what the responsibilities are of the city and management of the city. So you should have a document called Audit Plan or Audit Planning. We're not going to go through all of this, but there is some highlights in here that I think are beneficial to go over. And everything in this document are things that we're required to present to you in writing, orally, whatever the case may be. In addition to what's in here, I also think that this is a good opportunity for you to ask questions of us. If there were things that you wanted us to take a close look at during our audit, now would be a good time to tell us as we are in the planning stages of the audit. We actually start next Monday, being on site. So we're ready to begin. So again, if anybody has anything specific that concerns you, that you want to have us look at it, we can discuss that. You can reach out to us directly after the meeting. We just want you to know that you do have an open level of an open line of communication to us. So with that said, I'm going to let Anna kind of go over some of the responsibilities of management as well as the objectives of our audit, and then I'll jump back in a few minutes.
Good morning. Anna Cry. I'm actually the audit manager on the engagement. So just as John said, kind of high level from a management responsibility, there's several bullet points that are laid out in the document. Kind of a few to highlight that we wanted to was the first one, which is establish and maintain effective internal controls over financial reporting, which is one of management's responsibilities. We do, on the audit side, we do a review of all the processes from an internal control perspective to ensure that they are in place and functioning the way that we believe that they should be. And then if you kind of go down a few more, selecting appropriate accounting principles, using judgments, accounting estimates, these are also items that we review throughout our engagement, making sure that the proper principles are in place and any estimates that are being used are appropriate as well. If there's any further questions, I'll just move on. As far as the next page goes, for engagement objectives, we perform our audit to obtain reasonable assurance is what it is, so it's not absolute assurance. We do that through, our substantive procedures as well as through, the internal control work that we do. A couple of other bullet points, I guess, to highlight would be that we do communicate with the fiscal committee as needed. We do inquiries there, if there's any fraud concerns or anything along those lines. And then we will also communicate if any, significant deficiencies or material weaknesses are discovered. At this point, we have made it through a lot of our process walkthroughs, and there have been no concerns noted at this point in time. Things can always come up throughout the audit process, of course, but at this point, we're feeling pretty good about things. I think those are kind of the main points on these pages, at least. I'll turn it back over to John.
So lots of times we get the question, like, what is an audit? Like, how do we actually do an audit? I don't have time to go through it in detail, but when we are in the planning stages of an audit, what we do is we take many things into consideration in determining what we call our audit plans. So we'll look at prior year results. We meet with management to find out what's going on during the year. We review all of the board minutes to look for things that, we're going to want to make sure that we take a look at that during the audit. We, as Anna mentioned, we gain an understanding of internal control. If, in our opinion, there's an area of internal control that isn't as strong or robust as maybe what we would like, then maybe we will do additional audit procedures in that area to compensate for that. So we take all those things into consideration, come up with an audit plan and say, okay, this is how we're going to test cash, this is how we're going to test investments. Any areas, as I mentioned, where we feel that there's more risk is where we're going to focus additional time and resources to compensate for that. So from a broad level, that's how we go about developing our audit plans. So we actually have done that. Our audit plans are set. Some of the areas that we're going to focus on this year, which are very similar to last year, cash and investments, all long-term debt, including pension, OPEB. We will look at the significant revenue streams, expenses, and that's just to name a few. Any questions on that? Okay.
Nope.
Good.
So in the audit plan, we also have a timeline of when things are going to occur. As I mentioned, we will begin field work next Monday. The plan is to have the audited financial statements available sometime in November. So that is the plan. I think we can, definitely meet that. And then at the conclusion of the audit, we intend to come back here, meet with you, go over the findings of the audit, if you will. The only other thing in this audit planning document that I just want to make everybody aware of is we do give a summary of recent accounting and auditing pronouncements. It's more for your benefit just to know what's out there. There's a standard setting body called the GASB, and they are the ones who will dictate what needs to be included in your financial statements. Just know that we do work with management as these pronouncements come up to make sure that they are implemented appropriately by the city. So that concludes our presentation. Any questions?
Questions, colleagues? I think we're all pretty familiar with the process. So.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, that will take us to item number 3, and this is a resolution approving the request from Nerdcraft LLC Craft Beer Cellar for a new Class C liquor license at 404 Ione Avenue Southwest.
So moved. Support.
All right. Hello, Victoria.
Good
Welcome.
morning. All right, Nerdcraft LLC, on June 29, 2016, they submitted an application for a redevelopment liquor license to be located at 404 Ione Avenue Southwest. They received approval from the Planning Commission at their meeting on August 11, and from the Downtown Development Authority at their meeting on August 10. The application has been reviewed by the required city departments and is being recommended for approval.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
Interesting name.
Yes, it is. That's the only thing.
I agree. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next one, you can just stay up here for a few of these, is a resolution approving the request from Southtown Restaurant Group for a Class C liquor license to be located at 1167 Madison.
So moved.
Support.
All right. Want to tell us about this?
Yes. On June 1st, 2016, Southtown Restaurant Group submitted an application for a new Class C liquor license to be located at 1167 Madison Avenue Southeast. They received approval from the planning director on August 5th and from the Madison Corridor Improvement District at their meeting on August 17th. Their application has been reviewed by the required city departments and is being recommended for approval.
Okay, great. Commissioners, Commissioner, this is right next to you.
You first.
All right, who wants to go? Go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
Yeah, a couple things. I happen to live 2 doors next to this building, so I can see it out my window, which is not a bad thing. I think that for an organization, a business to go for a liquor license, sometimes that can be controversial in a neighborhood, but I think that they did it right, and it's a good model of how to do it. So in our neighborhood, the intersection of Madison Hall, if you look at the history hasn't always been so good. There's an infamous bar that used to be across the street that's been shut down, and so so to reintroduce liquor or a liquor establishment into this neighborhood, there was a lot of concern. So what Link did over 3 years ago, maybe more, was they applied for something that's little known, but a nonprofit can apply for a once-a-month liquor license to do host an event once a month. So they started something called First Fridays, where they'd bring in spoken word and different musical events, and they had food, and they would have a bar, a cash bar, and they would serve liquor. And it's been a fantastic experience. I mean, they wind it down by 11 o'clock. It's never been a problem. There's never been one incident there. The police have never been called there in 3 years. They had one night where they thought the group might have gotten loud, so they called all the neighbors to say, did they get loud? We apologize. And I said I didn't hear them, and I know the other neighbors didn't either. So I'm just saying that now they've applied for a full license. They plan on expanding the restaurant, and we'll have just a really nice establishment where if somebody wants a glass of beer, a glass of wine with their meal, they can have it. But this is the way to do it in a neighborhood, and I'm really proud of how they've done it, and the full support from the neighborhood on this one.
And the only thing I'll add is that everything that Commissioner Allen has stated is accurate. From the SIDS perspective, we looked at this and we thought that to have alcohol at an established restaurant was, again, the right way to bring alcohol into a neighborhood. And so we looked at this and we supported. We know that they have, for some time now, they've been asking to try and make this decision to obtain this license. And it took us a little bit as a SID to have enough people coming to the table regularly to have a quorum to be able to make decisions. And then with our expansion, we were finally able to support this endeavor. So we are hopeful that the state will authorize and they'll get the license that they're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for your work on this. I agree. I think it'll be great for this organization. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our next item, which is a resolution approving the request from HIH for a new B Hotel liquor license to be located at 2321 East Bell Line.
So moved.
Support.
Kind of straightforward?
Yep. On June 6, 2016, HIH Inc. submitted an application for a new B Hotel liquor license to be located at 2321 East Beltline Southeast. This license will be in conjunction with a new hotel being constructed on the site. The application has been reviewed by the required city departments and is being recommended for approval.
Okay, thanks. Questions, commissioners? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, so item 6 has been removed, so that will take us to item number 7, and this is a resolution establishing permit application fees for the recreational fire permits. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, and Lou Canfield is here to tell us about this. Lou.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The commission, as you know, adopted an ordinance amendment on open burning at the August 23rd meeting, and our office has been working to implement that. We've been preparing to receive applications, and we have a frequently asked questions page available online both in English and Spanish. So we have been preparing, and one of the things that we need you to do so that we can finish preparing is authorize the fees that we will use to cover our costs of administering the permitting program. So the program, as I think you're aware, is very similar to the backyard chicken permitting program in terms of checking various attributes of the property and then notifying neighbors and waiting for a period of time to see if any neighbors object. So because of that, we're proposing a fee structure that is the same as for the backyard chicken permitting program. So it would be $50 for an initial application. And if the permit holder would choose to renew that in a subsequent year with no changes, it would be a $10 renewal. These would be annual permits.
Okay, Commissioner Schaefer?
Just one question. I thought we reduced the amount for the backyard chickens to be 25. Is that not the case? It's still at
No,
at
the
50?
initial is still 50 with the renewal at 10.
At 10? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I just want to make sure it matched. I think there's not a lot of work that goes into it, but there is work in terms of looking at the site, and that's really the thought.
You don't have chickens yet?
I don't have chickens yet.
Not yet. Chickens.
I do have neighbors
So
with
this,
chickens.